Hey girl, do you have constant fears about food, constant anxiety, ruining every single day, and you really don't even know where to start? In the past, I've dealt with some very debilitating fears. Today, I want to talk with you about how you can turn your fears into freedoms for your life. The truth to overcoming our fears is to look at them as powerful instruments and tools that we can use to propel our future. What are you afraid of? Let's dissect this in today's episode. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you. Because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess, trapped in the destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it. So you can start living your best life as your best self. So I want today's episode to be super tactical for you. And I want you to be able to take some clear actions from today's episode because I don't want to have this very fluffy discussion around fear and anxiety and disordered eating and then leave you still experiencing all of those same feelings when it comes to the fears that you have in your life right now. I know that you can listen to me talk in my podcast all day long, but if you're not out there applying these things that I talk about that truly helped save me from myself and all of these self-guiding principles to really get you stronger as you navigate your healing relationship with your body and food, then you're going to find yourself constantly in this struggle of living in fear and wanting to embrace the future, but still staying stuck in the present. So today I just want to encourage you to really hear what I'm going to share and apply it in some form or fashion to your life. So I'm going to start with all about fears. False evidence appearing real. If you haven't heard that before, that's how we can think about fear. How do we turn our fears into powerful instruments of freedom to get rid of these unhealthy behaviors and unhealthy cycles in our life? I want to start by simply asking you a question. What are you really afraid of? What are you really afraid of? And I want you to, again, very tactical episode today. I want you to let that sink in. I want you to ask yourself that question, and I want you to write down some of what you're afraid of. And we're going to get to the steps really face those fears and overcome those fears. But I want you to take a moment. You can pause me or you can do it at the end of this episode. But truly, I want you to sit with yourself and I want you to say, what is it that I am really afraid of right now in my life? Okay, I'll give you a list of some of my fears. I have an extreme fear of heights. I do not like planes. I am terrified of snakes. And then I'm consciously always concerned about like something happening that hasn't yet happened in my life, like to my kids or to my husband. My husband's in law enforcement. So, as you can imagine, I'm constantly just thinking about like worst case scenarios. I constantly think about what if something happened to one of my kids. I constantly think about what if I get on this plane on Monday when you guys are listening to this episode and I don't land at my destination and then I don't land home. I constantly have fears, and I know you do too. But in the past, my fears were much more centered around self and control and food. And I won't deny that while having a fear of planes and flying definitely is a control thing, right? Like I like my feet right where they belong on the ground. But I will say that life is so much better without being constantly fearful and terrified of things that used to literally control my everyday. I was terrified of bagels. I was terrified of pasta. I was terrified of oatmeal and peanut butter. I was so afraid of gaining weight. And that little voice inside of my head just had me becoming those fears. I was so scared to do something outside of what I was knowing was my bubble in that moment that I couldn't even see the future because I was so consumed with the anxiety of the current state of my life. What is really sad about this is that God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. And when we are sitting in our own fear, yes, we're human, and yes, we're allowed to have our fears, and yes, we're allowed to feel insecure because that is our brain's way of keeping us safe. This is not a good thing for you, but the brain doesn't know the difference of essentially what is a rational fear, right? Like fear of jumping out of a plane, fear of one of your children getting sick, fear of something happening to someone, fear of heights, fear of snakes, fear of all those things, versus your eating disorder brain telling you that you're terrified of certain things and fear foods, or you're terrified of weight gain. The fear of changing and getting out of our comfort zone and getting out of our safe bubble, that's the fear that keeps us trapped. And the presence of that fear is a sign that you are living in your own strength. So when I ask you the question of what are you really afraid of, what's your answer? And the second question that I'm going to ask you is, what do you really want for your life? The truth to overcome our fear is to look it square in the eyes. And to do that, we have to expose what we're so afraid of. The goal isn't going to be to get rid of that fear. And when I work with clients one-on-one in private coaching, we really focus on the power to fuel yourself forward and letting go of those fears by facing them, because that's truly the only way that you're going to recover and change. So if anxiety and fear is running your day and you're scared to add something different to your diet, you want change for your life, but that presence of fear is always there. Fear if you're ever going to be anywhere further along than you are today. Fear if you're going to die from this, all of this. Fear of being stuck and fear of not figuring it out and fear of not being enough. Today, I want to define that clarity a little bit deeper for you around the exact fear that you may have so that you can face it, expose it, and get real with it so you can start living into it and creating that freedom for your life. So 3 fears that I've seen and experienced in disordered eating recovery and intuitive therapy with clients is 1, the fear of failure. So it's not really about food. It's not really about weight. And yes, we may enter into this place of wanting and being scared of certain foods and doing all of these things to try to prevent weight gain. But truly, the one of the biggest fears I've seen in working with clients is the fear of failure. We avoid any scenarios, any time that there's potential to change our current situation. And although we may really truly want that for our life, we sit in that place of being afraid that we're going to fail. We do it in recovery. And we do it even before we have those disordered eating patterns. We're just so deathly scared that we're going to fail. Maybe there's this thing in your mind where this potential for something to be unsuccessful. And instead of taking that risk, instead of making that change, you just sit in the rut of being scared to take a leap. Because at least you know where you are, right? What I've seen is in order to overcome this fear of failure and change the trajectory of your life, it really isn't about fears of food at all. It's a fear of not being successful at this. I mean, I remember when I used to feel like, well, I couldn't control myself and I couldn't control my body and I could no longer live in the place of controlling my food. And now I was scared to be unsuccessful. I was scared to fail at getting better. Because what if I didn't? That was a big fear. Number 2 is the fear of rejection. And friend, I don't know about you, but this is probably like the number 1 on my list. It's that fear of being rejected. And maybe it stems from childhood where somebody that you loved and wanted that approval from rejected you. Or maybe you were at a lunch table at school and one of your friends said something about you and you have kept that in your heart ever since. The fear of rejection is real. And that's what develops these eating disordered habits because we just want to be liked and we want to be approved and we want to be wanted and we want to not be abandoned, and we struggle with low body image, self-esteem, and shame, which constantly leads to worry and anxiety and more fear. And then the third one is inadequacy, the feeling of never being good enough. I talked about this in the recent episode on perfectionism, so you'll want to check that one out if you haven't yet. But really, maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a friend. Again, maybe it was someone in your past that you felt like you weren't good enough. For me, it was skating. For me, it was growing up in this competitive nature where I always had to be first. And if I wasn't first, I was last. And if I wasn't first, I wasn't good enough. And so I lived in this perpetual state of feeling like I didn't want to let anyone down, feeling like I didn't want to be unsuccessful, feeling like I didn't want to not be good enough, and then constantly feeling like I was going to be rejected if I wasn't the best. And maybe it's not skating for you, maybe it's something different for you, but maybe all of these things apply, and these are the real fears. What if it has nothing to do about weight or food at all? The truth is, eating disorders are not about fears of being fat. Maybe they begin that way. Maybe our mind and our eating disorder brain are actually so much deeper. We believe these truths. These fears become our realities, and we sit with them so long that they are the struggle that we cannot get out of. It's like quicksand. It's like just trapping us, and we seem to get deeper and deeper. It's the fear of inadequacy. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of never measuring up, and the fear of rejection. So all of that, okay, get it, but how do we overcome it? Like, how do we live on this planet, in this world, in our bodies, eating the foods that are scared to death, and we want to become better, and we just don't know how to do it? And we even fear that. We, in order to regain power from the anxiety and the fears, we have to release the sense that we have control over ourselves. And what I mean by that, God didn't give you a spirit of fear, but of power, of self-love, and self-control. That's 2 Timothy 1:7. This isn't about you. You're by yourself, getting through all that you're getting through by yourself. You have to release the fact that you're going to be able to do this by yourself. And also writing down your fears. So again, I'll go back to the very beginning of this episode when it comes to being really super tactical. And what I want you guys to receive from this today is that in order to get present with where you want your future, you have to get real and present and nitty gritty of where you are right now and what is scaring you to death. I have pages and pages and pages in my journal of how I was terrified to get better, and that is all I wanted for my soul at the same time. Guess what, friend? That is simply okay. That's where you are. Just getting and facing your fear and getting true with where you are in this journey is going to be what saves you. Write down your fear. Understand your fear. Understand it. How did it originate? Is there a time in your life where you can look back and just simply go, wow, like little Lindsay was scared, and little Lindsay wanted to be liked and appreciated, and little Lindsay was the only child, and little Lindsay wanted to be perfect, and little Lindsay wanted to be first. And so whatever that meant she had to do, she was going to do. Whether that was losing 20 pounds, avoiding bagels, or cutting carbs altogether, whether that was simply sitting in a state of self-depression because she was scared of what other people would think. What do you need to write down? What do you need to face? What are you really afraid of? Is it really food? Is it really food? Or is it what's underneath the food? Write down your fear, understand, and try to pick apart what could be some logical reasons and explanations that you're having this fear. And then I want you to take action and challenge yourself. I want you to challenge it. You know, I get asked all the time, do you have to eat fear foods in order to be recovered from disordered eating and have a healthy relationship with food? And while I do not eat bagels every day, and I do not eat pasta every day, and I do not eat oatmeal every day, Being able to have an intuitive eating behavior or practice in your life is simply eating what your body needs when your body feels it needs it. Part of that freedom from food journey is all about getting very specific with things and reasons why you're afraid of those things. Because, sister, it is not the bagel you're afraid of. Maybe you're afraid of gaining weight, and what's that going to mean about you? Maybe you feel like at that point you won't be appreciated, you'll be rejected. Maybe you feel like you'll be a failure. Truth is, you are so far from a failure. The fact that you're here listening to this podcast right now is the fact that you want something better for your life. You want to get out of this place. You can turn your fears into your freedom by writing down what scares you, writing down what you really want from your life, and writing down one thing you're going to do to take action on. Maybe you're so scared to death of that weight gain, but today you're going to eat 3 meals. Maybe you're terrified of pizza, but when you go out next week, you're going to challenge yourself to have a couple bites, or maybe even enjoy a couple slices. Or maybe you are absolutely terrified that you're going to gain weight and not like your body, or that you're not ever going to be able to have a healthy relationship with food and you're constantly going to be binging or purging. Girl, you got this. And the best part about it is you don't have to do it alone. You can surrender. You can surrender and you can find support. I want to share with you one thing that a writer for the Huffington Post wrote, and she was also an eating disorder survivor as well, Sandra Karen, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but what she says about eating disorders and food and fear is extremely powerful. So I wanted to share this today. Eating disorders are not about a fear of being fat. They may begin that way, but if the soul who suffers from this is comprised of different body types and weights, there's people that are starving, binging, the purging. There are the weapons with which we fight off these demons of inadequacy who grab us by the throat daily, look into our vacant eyes, and tell us we are nothing until we've proven that we are the conquerors of our destinies, which sadly revolves around an ability to control a disorder meant, in the end, to kill us. Girl, the only thing you have to be fearful of is sitting with this fear. You can turn your fears into your very freedom journey, your very freedom story. You can stop playing with those fears because you can answer these questions. What are you really afraid of? And then challenge it. Is that true? Is it actually true that if you gain weight and you need to gain weight, that you're gonna not love yourself? Is it actually true that if you gain weight, you might actually not find someone to love you? Do you love yourself now? This is so much deeper than weight, than food. Yes, we do need to conquer those things that scare us. Yes, I am going to step on a plane today when you guys are listening to this podcast. And yes, I'm going to be praying my heart out, and I'm going to be surrendering to the only one who saved me from myself and will protect me on that journey too. So in order to live fearlessly, we have to make a plan that is going to propel us forward. Face your fear, get clear and understand where that fear is coming from. Acknowledge it. Be okay with where it's coming from. Understand that that's something that has been in your life to keep you safe, but that it doesn't have a place anymore, and then challenge it and take action. Because the only way that you are going to find true freedom from anxiety and fear ruining your every single day is to do the opposite of what's keeping you stuck. I hope that this episode has given you some love, some freedom in my words, knowing that you can break the fear cycle, and what is controlling you simply doesn't have to control you any longer. You don't have to feel inadequate, and you don't need to live in affirmations of others, constantly worried about rejection. You're enough. And if I simply could sum up today's episode, it would just be to give you encouragement, because you are enough. You have exactly what you have right now today to be enough on this planet. You don't need anything else. You don't need anything else but the truth, friend. And that is, you're enough. You're worth it. And you can live fearlessly and strong when you turn your fears into freedoms by doing these 3 tactical things. Let's face our fears, let's understand our fears, and let's charge to the future so that we can change our lives. I want you to know that if you're listening to this podcast, I see you, and we're almost 20 episodes in, and I just feel like this was something that was a passion project. And every single week when I show up here to talk with you, I feel like we are having a cup of coffee together. I know I can't physically see you, but I know you're my friend, and I know that I'm here supporting you and I'm here cheerleading you on. You're not alone. If you want direct support from me, I do have a couple availability. Right now, I have 2 one-on-one client sessions that I'm able to schedule. You can get on the books directly with me. All you have to do is email info@lindsaynickel.com. And what does that look like? It really is diving into where you are and where you want your future to be and working together to make it so. You don't have to do this alone. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I encourage you to rate and review the show. That is the best way that you can say thanks. Have a great week, girl, and I will talk with you guys next week. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.